Concept check 25.2. Your measurements indicate that a fossilized skull you unearthed has carbon 14 slash carbon has a carbon 14 carbon 12 ratio about 1/16 that of the skulls of present day animals. What is the approximate age of the fossilized skull? Okay, so it says 1/16. So uh in in this section we were talking about half-life. So when it comes to absolute aging, when it comes to absolute aging, the way that it is dated, we use radiometric dating, and I believe this focuses on the half-life. So, focusing on the half-life, let me see here. So, let's see here. Where's the question? Focusing on the half-life, we have one. Let's see. We have one half. Let's see here. We have one half-life. Another half-life, and let's see. I think it goes. It goes to half-life, then another half-life, which would reduce it down to a quarter, then an eighth, and then a 16th. So that would be 2 to the fourth power. 2 to the fourth power, I believe. So that would be 4 half-lives. And let's see how long the half-life of, carbon 14 is. So yeah, this is the half-life, and okay, so right here. Fossils contain isotopes of elements that accumulated in the organisms when they were alive. For example, a living organism contains the most common isotope, carbon 12, as well as a radioactive isotope, carbon 14. When the organism dies, it stops accumulating carbon. It stops accumulating carbon, and the amount of carbon 12 in its tissues does not change over time. However, the carbon 14 that it contains at the time of death slowly decays into another element, nitrogen 14. Thus, by measuring the ratio of carbon 14 to carbon 12 in a fossil, we can determine the fossil's age. So that's odd. I can't seem to. Yeah, that's odd. It doesn't tell us how long the. Here, this method works up to fossils older than that contain too little. 75,000 years old. Yeah, so it doesn't tell us how long the half-life is. Oh wait, never mind. Here it is. It says its half-life is 5,730 years. So 5,730 years times 4. Let me see here. So 5,734. That would be 5,734. No, 507,030 times 4. That's right. So 29, 22. So about 22,920 years, I believe. Number 2. Describe an example from the fossil record that shows how life has changed over time. An example from the fossil record. The main example I found on on how the fossil record shows how life has changed over time is this one. So as we can see through this phylogenetic tree, we have the pteropods, and this branches off into reptiles, and then eventually we get to mammals. But before we get to that, we also have our synapsids, and then this branches off into the Dimetrodon. We also have the Therapsids, which went extinct and evolved into the Cynodonts, and this leads into this branches off into the very late non-mammalian let's see here, Cynodonts, which have gone extinct as indicated by the symbol, and then modern day mammals such as bears, platypi, and of course humans. So then, as we can see over here, we've got the different groups of organisms, from our synapsids to our therapsids, early cynodonts, later cynodonts, and the very late cynodonts from millions and millions of years ago. So you can see the overall change in their bone structure. So yeah, you can see their overall change in bone structure, such as over here. It just sort of looks like it becomes a bit more streamlined over time. So as in, you start off here, it says it had, later on, it says here that, they had multiple bones in the lower jaw and single pointed teeth. And, you had the jaw bones formed by the articular and quadrate bones. So, yeah, as you can see, you had this very huge, upper portion here. And, yeah, so you had this upper, this huge upper portion, right over here. Over time, this opening enlarged and moved in front of the hinge between the lower and upper jaws, thereby increasing the power and precision with which the jaws could be closed. So then later, a group of synapsids called the therapsids appeared. So yeah, they had large dentary bones and longer faces. Early cynodonts. So the dentary was the largest bone. So when it's talking about the dentary, I actually don't know which one they're talking about. I'm assuming they're talking about this bones, or maybe the teeth. Yeah, it could be the teeth they're talking about. But yeah, over time it just evolves and changes from this sort of rounder, clunkier shape into this much more flat and streamlined shape. Number 3. Suppose researchers discover a fossil of an organism that lived 300 million years ago but had mammalian teeth and a mammalian jaw hinge. What inferences might you draw from this fossil about the origin of mammals and the evolution of novel skeletal features? Okay, so I guess this would infer that this would infer that mammals evolved as early as 300 million years ago. And let's see here. What inferences might I draw? Yeah, they evolved as early as 300 million years ago or earlier, because evolution would take time. That's about all I can think about. So I guess that is it for concept check 25.2.